Batesville 236. It is 223. That's not a ton of time. Probably, I would say less than that. As this rotation continues to move, this next scan will probably bump it a little bit more east. So, like we said last night, lowest floor, basement if you have it, storm shelter if you have it, but away from windows. Usually it's a bathroom, hallway, and looking. We were watching it strengthen about the same spot as it was moved to Batesville, kind of the same situation. It's not producing a tornado right now. It could be getting ready to as it gets closer to the Batesville area. Some other times of arrival: Gainesboro 2:45, Newark 2:52, Tuckerman 3:12, and Swifton at 3:19. So that's a lot faster. In the next 45 minutes, 50 minutes, we'll probably see this move into Jackson County, where it took almost an hour or longer for this to go from the Stone Independence County line all the way over into Jackson County. So this one's moving a little bit faster. Just want to stress that because you're not going to have quite the sit and watch as we did last night. So everybody in this polygon needs to be in your tornado safe spot. Whereas last night we kind of said, if you're at the end of the polygon, you can wait a little bit. Just be prepared. Wake everybody up. Get everybody close to their safe spot. But you don't have to be there just yet. Not today. The whole warning. If your phone went off for a tornado warning in Independence County, you really need to be in your tornado safe spot just as we prepare to see how strong this is going to go. And we continue to see signs across the rest of the state of high winds. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning down to the south. Had some high winds here at the station near the river in Little Rock. Those winds are now all the way up to Cabot, down to Carlisle. Straight line of winds. They're going to be moving east-northeast and kind of catching up to this other storm right through here that's had some wind with it, but looks very different. We've not seen a lot of rotation, if any, with that cell, but still seeing some strong winds, especially if we go to the Cabot area. We'll see if that's pretty in line with where that storm came out of north of Little Rock. So we may be seeing this storm start to spread out some winds, at least 50 miles per hour, maybe over 60 miles per hour at times between Cabot and Jacksonville. And again, if winds are going straight in a straight line or they're spinning with a tornado, wind is a wind. It's kind of the same threat. I know we sometimes treat severe thunderstorm warnings differently than tornado warnings, but you really just don't want to be where the rotation is or where the winds are, and be near glass, be outdoors as this continues to move in. So latest on that tornado warning going to continue for a little bit longer as we start to lose some of the better radar data. We'll see if we can get this. So that latest scan, again, looking a little disorganized. It looked like it was maybe getting its act together a little bit more. Still pretty broad right here, though. That's going to be right over the White River. Very similar to last night, but this one's moving a little more east, almost northeast. So I think Batesville, last night this passed by you pretty quickly. I think Batesville, you're probably going to be dealing with this passing closer to or right over the downtown area. And we did have some power outages last night in the Batesville area. I think that's possible again with this next round of wind that's going to be pushing through. I don't know if some of these colors are as bright as what's actually happening, but I still think there's some rotation. I still think there's some cause for concern there across the Batesville area. I don't think we have a camera we can go to get a look at this, but this tornado warning will probably continue. I imagine this rotation will probably stick around or at least be broad as it had almost separating a little bit. You see the greens right here, and then there's kind of a bigger break. Maybe these are starting to drift apart. You've got some high winds, Batesville southwards towards Locust Grove, southwest towards Locust Grove. Then you have some of those outbound cooler air winds coming in from the north there on the backside, but maybe a little bit more separation. Maybe that rotation weakening just a little bit compared to where it was. Still not seeing any of the signs that we saw with both the Jackson County tornado or the Stone County tornado of debris in the air. If it was strong enough, we would. There's a little bit of color there, but that's not necessarily an indication of a tornado or debris in the air. I think that's just a little bit of radar clutter. But we continue to watch this cell push off to the east, almost due east at about 40 miles an hour. So 40 miles an hour, that's pretty good pace for a storm. This is not something that's going to take its time getting to you. It'll be on your location, even Gainesboro over to Sulphur Rock. I think you'll end up having to take shelter a little bit faster and see the storm arrive a little bit faster than what we saw last night with this cell. And just continue to stress that there's more storms coming. We zoom out, we've got this wave coming through, which we knew would be severe, but we kind of hoped it would fill in with rain a little bit more. You look back off to the west, the sun's out in northwest and western Arkansas. Now, some of these cells back in Oklahoma, they're starting to cast their own shadows. I think clouds will move back in before any storms move back into western Arkansas, but I think we'll still have to watch for isolated to scattered storms later on this evening. Still don't think it's going to be a super late threat for us, but I do think it'll be continuing into the evening as some of these storms get here. The past couple of days, a lot of these storms have kind of fizzled out. Once these clouds get on top of them, sometimes they lose some of that strength and maybe aren't as severe. But just something we'll have to watch through the afternoon. So we're not one and done today. I was hoping this round would just kind of have a lot of rain behind it. And it does have a lot of rain with it. There's just nothing behind it to keep the sun from coming out and things becoming unstable again. And then we're back into severe weather mode later on tonight. Barry, when you're ready and you want to take over, just let me know.
Okay, I'm here, and we are watching the storm around Batesville, and let's take a look at it a little bit more closely. You can see the two areas of stormy weather. One is from White County to northern Lonoke County and moving off to the east. And with this one, I think high winds are probably the biggest issue. We had a big gust of wind go through the Little Rock area earlier, and we estimated, meteorologist Austin Burks indicated maybe 50 to 55 mile per hour winds. For us, though, now the tornado warning is the big threat. We'll zoom in there for you. And with just looking at that, and then the velocities inside it, yeah, there's a lot of outbound wind or winds going out away from the radar in Little Rock and some coming in toward. So that would be the area that we're looking at. We're not sure that there's a tornado with that, but if you're in Batesville, you just got to wrap up your preparation. Go ahead and get into that lowest floor of your house away from exterior walls and windows. Let's treat the polygon with the respect it deserves. It won't be everywhere within that broad red box there that there's a tornado threat, but within it, and especially along Highway 14, what we talked about last night, that's going to be an area that's moving. It's moving quickly in there, and there is some real velocity with that as well. I'll look for any sign of debris with that. Don't know that it looks apparent that there's any debris there, but we do have a little appendage on the back of that storm, and that means that it's just like a little arm or little rotation back around the back side, and that area would be where you would look for it, and that's where we've seen some of that rotation that is evident there, and the National Weather Service saw the same thing. Power outages wise, we've had some in Hot Spring County, about 4,500 without power. So that was a big wind producers that went through Hot Spring County, some of the storms down to the south. In the Little Rock area, about 3,500 without power. That number was below 1,000 just a little bit ago. And now that wind gust that went through here, 3,500 without power. And in Saline County, about 1,800 without power. So all these storms today are kind of kicking their heels up wind-wise. There's a lot of forward movement with them, and then the winds coming out of the bottom of them add to that threat. So here's what we're looking at. We'll zoom back out for you. I don't want to get too short-sighted. Through Pine Bluff, there's a storm that's moving through. There's also an area of storms moving now east or around Beebe and Cabot, moving up to Griffithville and Georgetown, Des Arc. And it looks like it's just to the north of the Carlisle area. It's out of the Little Rock area. We're in a break, a relative lull here. And right now, the biggest threat is this storm in Independence County. And really what we want to look for is the trend. Is it wrapping up a little bit more? Is it showing signs of tighter rotation? Or is it kind of holding steady? There's a lot of wind with this storm, I would say, right over Batesville right now, and I'm sure you're very aware of that in Batesville. But there is some wind coming back toward the radar side on the back side. So that's why there's a tornado warning. Whether or not it's producing a tornado, that's why we say get into that safe spot, away from exterior walls and windows, get to the lowest floor of your home if you have multiple levels, and just get into a small room, a closet or a bathroom. I don't know that this looks much different than it did, but Zach, to me, this looks like there's just a lot of outbound wind. Mm-hmm. And that is at a height of around 6,500 feet or so. So we're not for sure, but that's a pretty low level of the atmosphere there for that storm.
Yeah, that wind signature looks a little bit better than it did last night, but not necessarily tornadic. Now, there's still probably some rotation, some low-hanging clouds as this storm starts to go from elevated and starts to drop down to the surface a little bit. So I bet they'll keep this tornado warning. They just trimmed it there, so usually that's a sign they're not going to get rid of the tornado warning. So this is going to continue towards Gainesboro, Sulphur Rock, right over Batesville right now. So your time for preparations over in Batesville. The threat is highest right now and should start to wind down over the next 5 minutes as this passes. Now it's kind of eastern Independence County over to Jackson County that really needs to watch this cell since it's moving at a pretty good clip. This warning probably goes until right around 3 o'clock. And that will be when it's approaching the end of this polygon, crossing the Black River, heading over into Jackson County, and continuing probably to be severe. Don't know if we'll keep the tornado warning the whole time, but still looking enough. I mean, there's enough bright colors there that there's a little bit of mixing trying to go on. That inflow is still relatively open. We'll have to watch this cell near Rosie. It's moving in. It'll probably merge with the main tornado warning storm here. Sometimes that can kill the rotation. Sometimes that can ingest a new storm and kind of give it a kick. And storms today, I think, are going to need a little kick to fully produce tornadoes. I don't think the tornado threat's particularly high, but it's Arkansas weather. It's going to do what it wants, and we know that that's still a possibility, especially if we can kind of help that inflow get stronger a little bit, if it can kind of absorb. But this storm is not small. It's not a tiny one, so maybe there'll be some type of collision that'll knock it off balance for a little bit before it's able to organize itself again. Independence County, Jackson County, though, that is the highest concern, as the rest of the state really just sees some high winds starting to develop in other spots, and just continue to see signs that heavy rain, lightning, and wind are the main threats right now with any other storm. Even down here in Pine Bluff, getting into a pretty heavier band of rain. There's some wind there, not severe, probably have some wind gusts 40, maybe 50 miles per hour at the most north and now west and southwest of Pine Bluff. But if the weather is clearing, if you think the storms are done, we still are going to have to watch into the evening. Unfortunately, we just couldn't end it with one round today. I think we'll have to watch for at least 1.5 rounds today, if not 2 rounds, with that second one coming in. Pretty lengthy break. A lot of those storms are still in central and Oklahoma, north central Texas, so it's going to be a while before they get here, but I do think it's going to be worth watching to see what can move in later on tonight. And hopefully this rotation really falls apart as that next cell starts to kind of collide with this storm. But right now there's still enough rotation around Batesville that it's concerning enough that I'm pretty sure this tornado warning is going to continue for the next 24 minutes that we've been watching this cell push off to the east. If you're in Rosie, McHugh, you're fine. Newark, it's going to get windy. I think you should probably shelter in place. That polygon's right over you, so some of you may have gotten alerts, some of you may have not gotten alert for that tornado warning. Usually there's a kind of a gray area outside of that polygon where those alerts can be sent out. Newest scan there, still showing some pretty strong winds trying to mix. I don't know if they're mixing fully yet, but still strong enough that that's concerning. Now past Highway 167. This is going to be right over downtown, if not the White River. So the White River just travels right through here up to the north a little bit. Here's downtown Batesville. So this is starting to pass downtown Batesville. If you're on Highway 69 eastward, if you're on Riverbank Road 394 there that splits down to the south, this is where that area of greatest concern is going to be. The next scan will probably take it back over towards Moorfield and continue off to the east along 394 as well, towards Rutherford in that area. Right through here is going to be where that next scan is going to, Rounds Road, Morgan Road, that's going to be where this next scan is going to take this rotation.
Yeah, I think that is really indicative of some big time wind and probably a lowering of the cloud base. Doesn't necessarily mean there's a tornado there, but we're going to just pretend that there is one, right? We're going to err on the side of caution with anything like that. There's a lot of wind with that storm as it moves now off to the east side of Batesville along Highway 69. And there's Miller Creek Road kind of on the north side of where the rotation center would be. I've seen with this also some very heavy rainfall. We're still watching that area of rainfall, that storm that's being pulled up toward this one, and hopefully it kind of shuts off its ability to get warm, humid air inside it, and it disrupts this storm and lessens its intensity. But we'll see exactly what happens. Another thing that I want to look at really quickly is if we can go to our other source, guys. I want to show you this storm on that, the Batesville storm. If we can go to the storm scan, and there you can see just a lot of wind from Salado to Sulphur Rock. Boy, that's just that. I think that's the big issue there. I think that's very easily winds could be approaching that 60-mile-per-hour severe barrier, and there could be trees down, but there also is that wind coming back toward the radar site. And another thing that I just noticed, there's a lot of wind around Beebe. It's moved kind of on the east side of the Interstate 57 corridor, future Interstate 57, Ward up to Beebe right now. That's a ton of wind, Beebe, and up to McRae, and that'll be moving on up into White County. So that's why we say you're under a severe thunderstorm warning. I don't know that tornado is likely with this at all, but the winds are very strong, and that's not very far from the radar site. So I think the fact that there could be winds translating down to the ground. This is listed at 75-mile-per-hour winds at about 1,500 feet. That's not very far off the ground. I think a lot of that could translate down to the ground. So severe winds, I think, are a real possibility in that corridor there. That's along 367, I believe, Beebe to McRae, and just east of the 67-167 corridor right there. So another thing to watch. Appears to be plenty of wind energy up above with all of these storms, and again, with the thunderstorms, a lot of times that can translate then down to the ground, and that's not what we want. So watch out for flying debris, for tree limbs, trees that could be pushed over on streets or on side roads. So just exercise great caution, along with a lot of lightning and a lot of heavy rainfall there. All right, we're going a new scan on that.
The Batesville storm.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a CC drop. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
If you back it up, they're approaching Sulphur Springs, but if you kind of go back a little bit,
Yeah,
right in
right in
there.
there.
Yeah, that's
Right there, the little dropout right there of something other than just rain perhaps being seen there. So there could have been a brief touchdown that lifted some debris up into the air. That's one of the signs we're looking at. That is not just is not a for sure, but that's right where the rotation was, folks. And I don't think it's out of the question that we could have seen that. Let's go on forward. Yeah, that's where, we went into the Batesville area.
National Weather Service says they think it could just be some radar technical stuff.
Yeah.
In the inflow. They don't think it was very impressive to be a CC drop, but they say they are still monitoring it because it does pair up well with that rotation. But the rotation's still, it's there. It doesn't look super healthy. Again, last night, though, we had a tornado briefly in Jackson County, and rotation didn't look very impressive. So just something to keep an eye on as this storm continues to move off to the east towards Gainsboro. Almost, you see kind of how straight it is up and down. That's usually more of a sign of straight line winds. And there's that next cell now cutting off the inflow. So hopefully this starts to weaken as all this fills in with rain-cooled air right over Sulphur Rock. You've got heavy rain to the east. You've got heavy rain to the north and west, but it's probably not raining too hard in Sulphur Rock. It's about to. You're about to get into some heavy rain and probably some strong winds. And it's going to be interesting to see if this kind of falls apart or tightens up, depending on, those storms are about the same size. Usually need the tornado warned storm to be bigger, that ingesting cell to be smaller. If it's small, it can kind of give it a kick. If it's too big or the same size, usually you see it just get really messy and have to fall apart and kind of reorganize. So that's what we're going to be watching over the next few scans.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of rain that will be ingested into that storm,
Yeah.
and I think that could really cool that. So hopefully, out to the east of Batesville, where you're in your safe spot right now, hopefully this large area of rain near Newark will be pulled up into it, and really, because where it rains, it's cool, and so hopefully that disrupts this quite a bit. But you're in your safe spot there in that east central part of Independence County. Kind of southeast and east central, and so let's stay in that spot, the lowest floor of your house, and we'll continue to, every new scan that comes in, kind of look for more clues as to what's going on there. Still at Sulphur Rock, there's a lot of wind right there. There is some wind coming back toward the radar site, but that's over a rather broad area. So I don't know that this is classic tornado signature, but again, rather safe rather than sorry is always a good thing. So if you're in that area, just go ahead and get inside. There's plenty of wind outside, and that can blow debris around, and you just don't want to be near exterior walls or windows at all. The radar continues to look pretty impressive. This is just the rain part of it right there. And it's moved very, very quickly. Last night, these storms were moving very slowly, 25 miles per hour, 30. I think these are a lot faster, probably on the order of 45 to 50 miles per hour. And I think we're going to see that through the day as well. But certainly we're getting good rainfall out of this for a state that desperately needs rain. And boy, in that area around Batesville, the drought is just about as high as you can get, the longer term drought. I know you had a lot of rain last night, but that doesn't cure a 20 or 25 inch rainfall deficit over a period of 6 or 8 months. And so we're getting that good rainfall, and sometimes severe weather is what you need for that. But still, tornado warning in effect, and there you can see the outline of it going over from Newark east of Batesville right now would be the worst of this storm. And so if you're in your safe spot, just remain there. We'll continue to monitor what the National Weather Service says. And hopefully there was not a touchdown there. I'm going to look a little bit more for power outages, because there were power outages in a number of counties, like Izard County has 709 out, 322 in Stone County.
There were some power lines knocked down far northwest to Lonoke County, where some of those high winds, kind of west of Cabot, Austin, Ward area.
Okay.
Report of power lines down in that area.
7,000 without power in Pulaski County. So that gust that went through here went kind of from southwest Little Rock across the I-630 corridor up into Kamak Village, the Heights, and then down the hill here, even in Riverdale here, it was very, very windy, and I didn't see any limbs blow down, but as I was watching, the trees were dancing pretty good. So we'll continue to watch Independence County. 15,600 out of power in the entire state. All right, let's look at the winds, and still very windy around Sulphur Rock there. That's just a big gust of air that has some curvature to it and some return wind on the backside of that storm. So those are things we look for. That's why there is a tornado warning in effect, Zach.
Yeah, that tornado warning is still expected to be around for about 15, 14 more minutes, and still have some signatures of higher winds. Again, I don't know if they're all the way down on the strength chart there, but at least 60 miles per hour. Wouldn't be surprised if there were some gusts slightly over 60 miles per hour. And that continues to spread east, northeast. So Searcy, you're kind of just on the edge of some of those higher winds. Some of these near Gardner may get into the south side of Searcy and central Searcy before dissipating. But just continue to see signs that straight line winds for most of these storms are the main issue. The hail threat was a little bit higher when these storms were higher up in the atmosphere. Now that they're starting to try to get down to the surface, I don't know if we'd see as much hail as we did earlier. Similar to last night, when we were dealing with wind and tornadoes, we didn't see a whole lot of hail. There was some pea, dime, maybe quarter-sized hail at the most. But when you get those really large hailstones, usually the storm has to be pretty elevated or just really, really strong. We're not really seeing that. We are still seeing more showers and thunderstorms move into this tornado-warned storm. So I bet they hold off on issuing a new warning. I bet they're going to watch and see what all this does and how this storm responds to it. Right now, there's still just enough of an inflow, but that's getting cut off quickly with heavy rain already towards Newark and Tuckerman, whereas last night, that happened, and then there was a storm down to the southwest that was able to redevelop, and that's where the rotation redeveloped to. I don't know if it's going to make that jump to the southwest. There's really nothing behind this cell at the moment to redevelop and become severe again. So hopefully this ends that rotation, and this tornado warning is either allowed to expire, or maybe they can cancel it earlier, but they are starting to approach that timeline where they can't cancel tornado they can't cancel that tornado warning early at a certain time frame when it's set to expire. National Weather Service, they're debating that right now. Like we said, storm interaction about to happen. So all of this is colliding together, and that's going to make things a little more messy. So probably going to take another scan or two to see if they reissue this tornado warning deeper into Jackson County. Here's the Black River right through here. So it's right on the border of that. The next warning would include likely Alicia all the way down through Tuckerman, maybe towards the Campbell, Diaz area as we continue to see, or Diaz, excuse me, as we continue to see that heavier rain continue to push in. Got cells coming in from the south, but you also have that main tornado warned storm coming in from the west. It's still, I mean, you can still see this little bow right here. That's still going to be some pretty strong winds, even if the rotation is not able to kind of hold itself together much longer. I still think the winds will be elevated with this cell. I'm still holding on. There's still some bright colors. This may be a little too bright. Usually that's a sign that maybe the radar thinks it's stronger than it actually is. New scan there. Bet we see the greens take over, this start to die down a little bit, and hopefully this just becomes a straight line wind threat, or just weakens even better, weakens below severe limits as it approaches Highway 25 and Highway 122. Highway 25 is right here, so it may stay just south of there as it crosses Highway 37 on your way to Tuckerman, or Highway 122 there between Highway 25 and Highway 69 on the east side of Batesville and the east side of Independence County. And again, don't see any concern with any of the other storms other than probably some very windy conditions right now across White County, portions of northern Lonoke and Prairie County as this storm pushes out. These are moving pretty quick. This round is almost out of here. Pretty long break. There's some shower activity back in west and southwest Arkansas. You can see a little bit of thunderstorm activity that would mainly impact northwest Arkansas. The next round is still all the way back down into southern Oklahoma. Now, if this all merges together, that's probably going to increase the chances of this making it here. The longer they stay individual, they may kind of run out of energy as they start to create too much cloud cover and everything starts to weaken as it approaches western Arkansas again. So that's why we kind of think there may be a couple storms around, but we're not entirely sure if there's going to be a lot of coverage with this next round, which would make us miss out on more rainfall, but would keep the severe weather a little more isolated and not as widespread.
All right, the severe thunderstorm warning that was in effect for just up to the northeast of Little Rock for White County has gone away. Let's take a look. It's gone, but the storm is not gone from White County down to the northern part of Lonoke County. It just has really fallen below those severe limits. And earlier, I saw some real wind features along with that. It moved through the BB area, McRae, but it doesn't look as windy now. So this is just great rain, and there is some wind with it, so we're going to watch it closely. And the National Weather Service has said that they have dropped the tornado warning for the storm up into northern Arkansas. So let's go to where the storm is.
New severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag
yes,
into
yeah, that's
Jackson
what they're doing.
County.
Instead, the tornado warning still in effect, but to extend on out past 3 o'clock, severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible that goes out to Swifton and Tuckerman in the northern part of Jackson County, and then on up into the Lawrence County as well. So no apparent rotation with this, but let's just look. There's a lot of boxes there, so I'm going to try to break it down for you, and we'll go into the wind field within this storm. Out to the east of Batesville, right there is that remnant rotation. Not strong, but there's a lot of wind going away from the radar site as it heads toward Cord, and so that's why we don't know that there's a tornado or a rotation center there, but that would be the reason why we're going to keep that as a severe thunderstorm warned storm, and the Weather Service says with a tornado possible along with that. I think what we'll do is we're going to go up to that time right before our Good Afternoon Arkansas show, our ARC show at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And so then we'll lead off with coverage of weather on ARC this afternoon. And we'll be periodically through the course of the hour show we'll be breaking back in. We'll be telling you about the weather, or if there's any other tornado warning. Obviously, we go constantly if it is within our area, where our viewing area around the state. But we're going to keep this up until about 3 o'clock. The rotation area, along with this storm, is beginning to broaden, according to the National Weather Service, and I think we've seen that as well. It's just over a rather large area, rather than a smaller area there. And as it tightens up, that's when you get more concerned. As it's broader, you get less concerned about an actual tornado. And still, there's some wind threat, though, with this. So out east of Sulphur Rock, that's why there's severe thunderstorm warning. This storm is strong. It has shown signs of rotation. We aren't sure that there was a tornado that ever developed with it, but it was tornado warned. And so those are the storms that we kind of look at a little more closely. And we're looking at all the storms around the state. I think at some point this afternoon, these will all move out of our viewing area. There'll be a break, maybe even some sunshine. And then we have to look out to the west at the storms that are forming out into Oklahoma. And so that'll be kind of next on our agenda. And I'll just broaden out and show you that those storms are still, let's go to the other source if we can, computer number 2. And I'll just show you a big overview of what's happening here. The storms out to the east and northeast of the Little Rock area, a big break with just a little rain, and then some more severe thunderstorms, even tornado-warned storms out to the west. We've got just a few minutes before Little Rock Arc show begins, but for now we're going to keep a close watch on those storms. The storms right now, again, this severe thunderstorm warning is not in effect anymore. The one for Searcy, Griffithville, and Georgetown, this box is still up there, but it has gone away. The National Weather Service canceled that early. Well, actually, they may have reissued. Now, it's until 3 o'clock. So they're going to, actually what they said was they're going to let this expire. That box went away, but until 3 o'clock, they're going to keep this one into effect too. So both of the major warnings will go away at 3 p.m. All of this area of wind is still out there. We'll go into a little more close view of this and show you where the wind is. It's certainly raining from Georgetown down to Cotton Plant. Down to Des Arc right now. It'll be headed over to Augusta and McCrory. But where in there is the strongest wind? Well, we can also see that. And for right now, the wind out around Georgetown, it's a remnant of what it was. This is not the strong wind that we had earlier. Not to say that it isn't strong wind, but I don't think it's as strong as it was. I'm looking on another source here. And yeah, the winds... The winds are quite a bit less than they were. We were seeing winds of 65 or 70 miles an hour at 1,500 feet. Now we're seeing winds of about 50 miles per hour at that 1,800 foot mark. So the winds are not as strong with this, and that's why the National Weather Service is going to let that severe thunderstorm warning die out. And then we'll go back up to the northern storm as well, and the tornado warning will be replaced by this longer yellow box, this polygon here, that takes in the northern part of Jackson County, and that is a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag on it. I know there's a lot of colors there, but we're just really focused on that area east of Batesville and Independence County, along Highway 122 and Highway 25, and that will be for just a little while longer. Now, we're not going to quit watching this, but right now, I just really don't see much in the way of anything but maybe some wind there, and there's no rotation really that is apparent. And that's why the National Weather Service is going to. Okay, we've got 2 minutes until our ARC show begins, and so we're going to just kind of keep a close watch on it, just to keep you guys, y'all informed about as this crosses the White River and moves over into Swifton and Tuckerman and points eastward then. And if there's any rotation that is within that, both the National Weather Service and here at Channel 7, we are completely looking at what is happening there. All right, let's we'll go ahead and send it back to programming here, and we may have just a brief bit of our previous program, and then ARC will be on